A sparkling morning to all my dear children. Welcome back to your science class. I am your teacher, Shahin Miss. Children, today we are going to start a new lesson from Science Part 1. Yes, lesson number 1, gravitation. So let's begin. Let's start with the introduction. Children, can you tell me what are the effects of a force acting on an object? A force can be set a body in motion. For example, a steady car gets motion on pushing it, right? A force can also stop a moving body. For example, a moving car can be brought to rest by application of brakes. That means by applying brake, we can stop the motion of the car. Okay? A force acting on a body can change the speed of the body. For example, when brakes are applied to a moving car, its speed decreases. A force can change the direction of motion of the body. For example, a volleyball player applies force to change the direction of ball. A force can change the speed as well as the direction of the motion of the body. For example, when a ball bowled by a bowler is hit by a batsman, there occurs a change in the speed as well as the direction of the motion of the ball. Understood, children? Good. A force can change the shape and size of the body on which it acts. For example, when a spherical clay ball is pressed, it gets deformed and hence no longer remain spherical. Are you getting me, children? Okay. Now children, tell me, what type of forces are you familiar with? Okay, the types of forces which we are familiar with are gravitational force, nuclear force, and electromagnetic force. Children, can you tell me what do you know about gravitational force? Yes, gravitational force is a universal force. That is, it acts between any two objects in the universe. Okay? We have seen in the previous standard that the gravitational force is a universal force and it acts not only between two objects on the earth but also between any two objects in the universe. So children, let us now learn how this force was discovered. Okay? Let us first learn about gravitation. Now children, the phenomena of gravitation was discovered by Sir Isaac Newton. Now children, as the story goes, he discovered the force by seeing an apple fall from a tree on the ground. He wondered why all apples fall vertically downward and not at an angle to the vertical. So he also thought that why do they not fly off in a horizontal direction? Why don't they make an angle vertically to that downwards direction? And children, after much thought, he came to a conclusion that the earth must be attracting apple towards itself. And this attractive force must be directed towards the center of the earth. Now children, we have always come across a word gravity and gravitation. So both these words gravity and gravitation are somewhat similar, but there is a slight difference. Let's learn what's the difference. Now gravitation, what it is? Gravitation is the force occurring between any two bodies. Okay, what is gravitation? It is the force occurring between any two bodies. It could be any two bodies. For example, if I take myself and a book, so there is a force of attraction between us. Between, if we say, between two football and a volleyball. So there is also a force of attraction between those two objects. Okay, so this is known as gravitation, the force occurring between any two bodies. Now let's see what is gravity. Children, gravity is the force occurring between earth and a body. Got the difference now? What is gravity? It is the force occurring between the earth and a body. So, if there is a force between the earth and a body, it is known as gravity, while if the force occurring between any two bodies, it is known as gravitation. I hope children you understood the difference between gravity and gravitation. Good. Children, let us learn about Kepler's law. Okay. Children, planetary motions had been observed by astronomers since ancient times. Now, before Galileo, all the observations of planets' position, it were made with the naked eyes. Now children, by the 16th century, a lot of data were available about planetary position and their motions. Then Johannes Kepler studied all these data. He noticed that the motion of planet follows certain laws. So he stated 3 laws describing the planetary motion. Let us learn these Kepler's law. Children, let us first understand the meaning of an ellipse. What it is. Children, if we take a cone, okay, and we make a cut by an inclined plane. As you can see on your screen, there is a cone and we have made a cut, okay, by an inclined plane. So we get a curve. As you can see here, the yellow color is the curve. So what is an ellipse? An ellipse is the curve obtained when a cone is cut by inclined plane. Understood children? What is the meaning of ellipse now? It is a curve obtained when a cone is cut by an inclined plane. Children, you know that a circle has a center point which is important. Similarly, an ellipse also has 2 important points and it is known as focal point. So, an ellipse has 2 focal points. Here as you can see, we have termed them as F1 and F2. Okay. Singular we call it as focal and plural of it is foci. So an ellipse has 2 foci, F1 and F2. Understood children? Now let's learn Kepler's first law. It states that the orbit of a planet is an ellipse with the sun at one of the foci. Children, can you see on your screen? Now just we have learnt the term ellipse. Okay, so an ellipse is an orbit of a planet. Okay, the orbit of a planet is an ellipse. Okay, now with the sun at one of the foci. So ellipse has two foci, right? F1 and F2. Now here let us place the sun at F2 and we have given the term as S for sun. So the position of the sun is indicated by S. So the first law is that the orbit of a planet is an ellipse. Okay, with the sun at one of the foci. So there are two foci, F1 and F2, and we have given the position of sun on F2 and we have termed it as S. So the Kepler's first law states that the orbit of a planet is an ellipse with the sun at one of the foci. Easy? Understood, children? Okay. Children, look at this picture on your screen. From here we can observe that the speed of the earth in the orbit does not remain constant. What is the meaning of this? Now earth is revolving around the sun. Yes. So when the earth is near the sun, the distance is less. While when the earth is revolving and it is away from the sun, the distance is more. Right? So while revolving also, when the earth is near the sun, the speed is more. Why? Because the force of attraction. Because of force of attraction. While the earth, when it is away from the sun, the speed will also decrease. Therefore, we can say that when the earth is closer to the sun, the speed is faster, and when it is farther from the sun, that is away from the sun, the speed is slower. Understood, children? Kepler's second law. It states that the line joining the planet and the sun sweeps equal areas in equal interval of time. Now, what is the meaning of this law? Children, now observe on the picture. Now, children, let us assume that AB and CD, as you can see on your screen, AB and CD are the distances covered by the planet in equal time. Let us assume this time as 1 month. Okay, so AB is equal to CD. That means the area covered by this is equal to the position of planets starting from A and C are shown by B and D respectively. Okay, now the straight lines AS and CS sweeps equal area. What do you mean by sweep? It goes ahead. Okay, it covers that area. Okay, so it sweeps equal area in equal interval of time. Now therefore we can say that area ASB and area CSD are equal. Understood the second law, children? The line joining the planet and the sun sweeps equal areas in equal intervals of time. Kepler's third law. It states that the square of its period of revolution around the sun is directly proportional to the cube of the mean distance of a planet from the sun. Now children, let us understand this first. You can see the picture on your mobile screen. Now, when Earth is revolving around the sun, okay, in the orbit, so the time taken will be different, right? In the first picture, look here, when it is closer to the sun, it will take less time, because, and then after that, when it is moving away from the sun, the distance is also increasing, so therefore the time will also increase. So let us take the time as t. Okay, so now we need, since the time is different, so we will take an average of that distance. Okay, so it will be termed as r. So thus, if r is the average distance of the planet from the sun and t is its period of revolution. Okay, so what will happen then? T square is directly proportional to r cube. Okay, the square of its period of revolution, that is t square, around the sun is directly proportional to the cube of the mean. Mean means the average distance, that is r cube. Now let us replace this directly proportional sign, okay, this alpha. So it will be t square is equals to k r cube, where k is the constant. Now after rearranging the term, we get as t square upon r cube is equal to k. So understood children? The Kepler's third law. Kepler obtained these laws simply from the study of the position of planets obtained by regular observation. He had no explanation as to why planets obey these laws. We will see how these laws helped Newton in the formulation of his theory of gravitation. Children, now let us learn the next subtopic, that is Newton's universal law of gravitation. Now we have just learned Kepler's law, right? So all of those consideration, including Kepler's laws, led Newton to formulate his theory of universal gravity. So children, according to this theory, every object in the universe attracts every other object with a definite force. And this force is directly proportional to the product of the masses of the two objects and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. To understand Newton's universal law of gravitation, let us observe the figure here. This figure shows two objects with masses m1 and m2, and it is kept at a distance r from each other. Now children, mathematically, the gravitational force of attraction between these two bodies can be written as F is directly proportional to m1 multiplied by m2 upon r square. So what the law says is the force is directly proportional to the product. Product means what? Multiplication, right? Product of the masses of two objects. So we have mass 1, that is m1, and m2 as the masses of these two bodies. Okay, so force is directly proportional to the product of m1 and m2. Understood up till here? And what it says, it is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. So what is the distance between them? We have just said it is r. or we can also denote it by d. So it is the square of the distance. So it is r square. Therefore, f is directly proportional to m1 m2 upon r square. Okay, now to remove the sign of proportionality, we have to write there g as a gravitational constant. So F is equal to m1 m2 upon r square. And this gravitational constant g, it has a standard unit, okay, SI unit. Its value is 6.67 into 10 raised to minus 11 Newton meter square per kg square. Okay. Now here G is the constant of proportionality and it is called as universal gravitational constant. So children, from this equation, it can be seen that the value of G is the gravitational force acting between the two unit masses kept at a unit distance away from each other. Thus, in SI unit, the value of G is equal to the gravitational force between two masses. Understood, children? With this, children, we have come to an end of today's lecture. So, we have learnt in this lecture about the term gravitation, the difference between gravity and gravitation. We have also learned Kepler's law, all three laws, and Newton's universal law of gravitation. Children, after watching the video, kindly read the lesson to understand it more better. Till then, take care of yourself and your family. We shall meet you in the next lecture with the new subtopic. Till then, thank you, children.